It has to turn intention into action, but you have to have that thing that, pushes you over the line. And sometimes it's that accountability, that says, I said I would do this, I have to do it. Midnight's coming.
Incredible motivating force, that bond of brotherhood. When you do finally feel like you got a group of guys that are standing with you and they're locked arms together, then you don't want to let them down. Mm-hmm. You do like incredible things that you would never do. But
yeah. I don't know how many times in my life I've been pressured into doing something that I wish I wouldn't have. I've kind of regretted it, and now this is positive peer pressure. Yeah. This is pressure. This is what you're talking about. This is pressure to do the right thing. And when I'm talking about Fight Club, the guys that aren't in it, that I'm encouraging to join, I usually say, you feel like, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time for it. But what it is the things that I'm doing in Fight Club are stuff that I should be doing anyway. Mm-hmm. And if there's something that needs to be cut out of my life, it's the stuff that's making me too busy, so I'm not doing the things that Fight Club is asking me to do. I shouldn't be too busy to share my faith or read my Bible or whatever it is that we're being challenged to do. I shouldn't be too busy to exercise, to try to be healthy. Those are the boulders in my life, and then I plan the other stuff around it if I have time. And I think so many guys have it backwards, and they're too busy doing other stuff, and they can't get these things done.
Well, and we make it acceptable. I mean, the culture of Fight Club makes it cool to be physically fit, cool to be in the Word, makes it meaningful. The things that we know we should do, but we always joke about to let each other off the hook. Now, we're razzing each other in the direction to get it done, and it's like, okay, if I'm going to be accepted by doing these things, I'm not going to be rejected. I'm not going to be ridiculed and laughed at.
Sure. It's cool how everybody kind of supports each other with it too. I remember, the guy Randy, who we had it was a walking or running assignment, and Randy has some health problems and just had to get a certain amount of miles in, and so he comes, to the church and was walking around the track and stuff like that, and I don't know how many other Fight Club guys just came beside him and were walking with him, and it was just really cool just to look up there and see Randy walking, and then right beside him was another guy, just saying, "You can do it, Randy, you can do it." So it's just really cool to see.
And then he had a dozen guys there cheering for him when he
finished.
It's just
that's so right for him to be doing that, but it never would happen without that sense of acceptance and camaraderie to help him feel good about doing things that are good for himself.
Even the element of love, we're cheering guys on to do things that Christ would want us to do. I mean, even the graduation program.
Right.
Guys, seriously.
That's what I was thinking about.
At our how many graduations have you been to? Number one, where you were allowed to cheer. You had to wait everyone's through. But I remember my wife commented, she said, "Jim," she said, "I was in tears over and over during the graduation, what was taking place." She said, there were men standing up audibly shouting and cheering for men because they're loving Jesus. She said, I've never been in any environment where guys were cheered in such a way, and the camaraderie of we did this together because they were doing what Jesus wanted them to do. She said, there was times I wept through the ceremony, laughed but wept, because this is what should be happening.
Right.
And I know for her that was like a solidified, that's why we're doing this. And the wives and the kids come along saying,
sons.
Yeah, sons, I want to be a Fight Club man.
I can't wait to be a Fight Club man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when a man walks across the stage, you know what he's overcome, because we've been connecting through the Facebook page and we've heard the stories. And so it's not just another guy graduating, it's an overcomer, and we know what he has walked through to get to that point.
And who doesn't want to be a hero in their kids' eyes, in their wives' eyes? I mean, what guy doesn't feel a little proud, puffed, when they see their wife big beaming smile and their kids beaming smile, and their kids say, "Man, that's my daddy up there."
I remember, even with my kids, the night that we had our graduation ceremony, so we got our shirt, for the first time, so we get our Fight Club shirt, so I put it on, and my kids see me in the shirt for the first time, and they're asking what it is, and so I tell them, "Oh, this is my Fight Club shirt." So they associated Fight Club with just that ceremony, that Sunday night ceremony that we had. Well, anyway, it was like the next week that I put my shirt on, and I was wearing my shirt again, and my kids were like, Daddy, today's not Fight Club Day. You know what are you doing? And so it was really cool to just even as a teachable moment for them to say, no, every day is a Fight Club Day. You know, because what it's about is fighting for your families. You know, fighting for your homes, fighting for your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and so it was just kind of a real cool teachable moment. And so just for them.
What an opposite message that is in our culture today, isn't it? I mean, so much of the media, commercials, things like that, make men look like idiots, look foolish. And here's your kids, our families, people in the community seeing men be men and stand up and take responsibility and take proactive, positive action to be intelligent, to be healthy, to be a brotherhood, a camaraderie, a piece of community.
Yeah, there's something about, too, just seeing another guy, no matter where you're at, that is wearing a Fight Club bracelet. You guys are running into those like, dude, you're a Fight Club man. Because you know what they went through and what they're standing for. There's something that it's more than just a club. It's these guys have walked through the same journey and they're trying to become more like Christ. And their sense of, man, there's a deep connection. And Maya, you were saying something about this Facebook page I think is great. That surprised us.
Yeah.
The closed Facebook page that Fight Club has, just quite frankly, God blew us out of the water. And still is, by the way. We're in the midst of another chapter. And when you go there, there's safety, but there's also the sense of guys are sharing stuff that they've suppressed for 30 or 40 years. And there's deep brotherhood that's happening on that page. It's a safe place. And when a man knows it's a safe place, he spills his guts. Wouldn't you guys say that, though?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some things that you've noticed about that page that when you go there, what are you noticing now, the closed Facebook page where guys can go and interact and are required to, by the way, part of, that's the difference. It's more than checking off the list. What are you guys noticing and seeing there that's kind of popping out?
It does pick up momentum. Starts out a little slow when a new topic or a new assignment comes out. But you get those one or two bold guys that break the ice, and then it's like a landslide, guys. And you can almost see what's going through their minds. It's like, wow, he shared that, and nobody ridiculed him.
Yeah.
Nobody judged him. Well, man, if he can share that, maybe I can share what I've been through or what's going on inside of me. And then there's this gush that comes out, and there's just something healing about that.
And it's not superficial either, because
Yeah.
you'll see that guy on Sunday or at work or wherever you'll run into him, and you sort of even don't have to acknowledge the whole time. You just kind of know that what he shared, and then you kind of have that connection and that community already established. And sometimes you just put your hand on his shoulder and be like, "Thanks, man, for sharing. I'm praying for you." And that's all that needs to be said, because it was shared. So it's not superficial, it's real, what guys are really sharing online.
Which is really a dynamic that's unheard of in a positive way. We have the negative aspect of that with gossip, where you don't really know that guy over there, you know his name and you know this one thing about him, and you've pegged him as that guy. But there's an overwhelming amount of guys in this group that I would have no connection with otherwise.
I agree.
Absolutely no connection with him, but I know all these like deep, intimate, powerful things about his life, and it's an incredible connection, an incredible relationship that technology is kind of thrown in our lap, and now all of a sudden it's being redeemed to something just incredible.
I would agree. I think all of us would agree. I don't have the chance to have one-on-ones like I would like with men. Now, do I want to? Absolutely. But I feel like now I'm getting to know this guy or that guy or that guy or that guy, even from a preaching perspective. Just on a Sunday morning when I'm preaching, it's like I have a wealth of information about their lives that shapes my sermons. Sure. It's like, this is where they're at. And now, because they're there, this is the information through God's Word that can help benefit them in their walks. It's like all of a sudden I've had this resource of, this is where your body's at, this is the direction you need to go. It's shaped my preaching in an unusual way. And not only that, I feel like I can't connect with everybody, nor can everyone else. Now I feel like not only do they share, I share too. They see my heart, I see their heart. There's this instant bond. It's also made our church, you've heard people comment, I've heard guys say this. I heard one guy say that he thinks that Grace Community Church is friendlier than it's ever been. That men are more friendly. It's like,
And this is a guy who's not in Fight Club.
It is, yeah. Someone who's not in Fight Club. He
Noticed the difference almost instantly.
Well, guys are all of a sudden you're seeing them praying in the hallways. You're seeing them connecting, drinking coffee, talking before and after services, serving together. That's been something pretty cool too. How the Fight Club has created. All of a sudden, it's our go-to place, isn't it, guys?
Right. Good network, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, if we need volunteers for something, we stick it on the Fight Club page, and we get guys that are willing to come show up. You know, we hosted that large event a couple weeks ago, and a traveling team came in and said they've never set up or teared down for a major event like that quickly at any church ever across the country. It was because we had the Fight Club guys there just stepping in, they're ready to roll and get everything going, and it was amazing. And we've seen that happen in lots of ministries. Jim, you talked about your sermons, how it's able to affect your preaching. I think we've all seen that in our ministries as well. I think you're right. I think having you involved in the ministry, the Fight Club's ministry has been really important, because you have so much to say about the direction of our church, and the fact that this connects with your heart, and that you're one of the guys that's pushing this, and it has really made a difference. Don't you guys think that's probably important for any Fight Club ministry to really succeed? The senior leaders have to be on board with it, or else it's not going to happen, right?
Well, as the leader goes, so goes the ministry, and whatever that person is who's leading it, he's going to attract, people who are bought in to those same things. And so, Fight Club is a men's ministry. The leader needs to be a man's man. Fight Club is a ministry of overcoming. The leader needs to be somebody who can say, I'm going to stick with something until I overcome it. You have to have a guy who represents the vision of Fight Club, leading Fight Club.
The other neat thing about it is the term fight, kind of like, well, are you wrestling, or are you beating each other up? It's like
sometimes,
yeah,
if necessary.
Yeah, that's right. But the neat thing about Fight Club, of the many things, is it's attracting all kinds of men.
Right.
We have business owners, we have white collar, we have blue collar, we have assembly line, we have guys that are athletes, not athletes, college students.
Yeah, lots of young adults.
We have a 75-year-old man that's walking through that's making this happen. So it's just not like, well, it's just that kind of man that,
Right.
No, it's all men, and it's challenging all men in all areas too. And that's one thing I love about it is there's not a typical guy that's in Fight Club.
Right.
It's a variety, and so I think some people might say, well, that's just for that kind of church, or that's because he's that kind of leader. No, it's for men, and it impacts all men. I will say this though, that the leader of this has to be someone who believes in it, that directs it from. He's in tune with God, and he's daily asking God what it is, but he has to be sold into it, and he has to buy into this, because he really helps direct the mission and the direction of this.
Sure.
And I think the best person for that is probably the senior leader. In fact, it would be very challenging if it wasn't the senior leader in the church.
I would add to that if it weren't the senior leader, you would have an issue of divided loyalties, because Fight Club does create loyalties because you follow a leader. You don't just follow an assignment, you follow a leader. And as men, we understand loyalty and hierarchy, and those are just part of the honor that's in us. And so as much as that can be streamed into then that senior leadership of the church, then that's going to make for a whole lot smoother and more successful leadership process in general. If you have somebody kind of off to the side who's leading Fight Club, I don't see that working out as easily.
No, but the senior leader can surround himself with guys that catch the vision and grab hold of segments of it. I think of Tinsley and how he will pick up on aspects when guys are starting to whine and complain a little bit, and he's right there. I mean, he jumps on it. And you don't even have to say anything, because you know that Tinsley's going to jump on it and say, "Come on, guys, get it together, get going.
Right.
Don't lay down and die. Get in there and fight." And those two or three, or core group of guys that can surround you and pick up aspects of the core essence of it, and then run with it. That's leadership development.
It's an incredible point. It develops leaders organically.
Oh yeah.
you see the guys. They don't need to be put in a position. They rise to a certain position, and they just rise up, and you spot the leaders in the group, and that's been, for us, we've had more people come onto our team as a staff. Even because of that, we saw their skills, their heart, their passion, their love for people kind of spring up. Not that it wasn't there before, but we noticed it, and it became very evident in Fight Club, and they're guys who are with us now.
What's cool is when you pull back the curtain on that person's life, you can see how God has been equipping them for that kind of activity all their life. They're not going to be in vocational ministry, but God has been hardwiring into them just that kind of thing to pick up, and this now provides them an avenue to be involved in ministry right from the grassroots level.
You know something else that's it's fun from my perspective from planning assignments, just trying to be in tune to God and see where men are at and the church is at, and saying, okay, this is where the church is at, this is where men are at, and maybe this is where God wants to take us. But I also like the element that men are waiting for that Wednesday morning post to see what the next assignment is. There's something about that because the element of there isn't, we don't know, they don't know what's coming next. They don't know what the next assignment is. And so there's this sense of, I hope I can do it. I want to do it. Bring it on. You know how some guys...
But I hope it's not too bad.
And you know how some of the guys are like lobbing bombs out there, bring it on, Jim, bring it on. And so we have guys, I know one guy, he says Wednesday, that's his discussion time during his lunch hour. He goes and checks, and he said he can't wait until Wednesday just to see what it is, to see if, can I do it this week. And there's also this sense too of that these little rivalries that have started up amongst with some of the physical assignments, they've been kind of fun too. Well, here's my time. There's your time. This is how many push-ups or this is how many setups.
Double it.
And that's been an element that you just don't see that much in the local church. And men have been tamed and almost like, hey, don't go there. That's not godly somehow. And that element of how many guys have said, you've heard this, all of us have heard this on some level, that some guys are saying, I haven't done stuff like that since junior high or since middle school. You know? So it's also, men are finding out, a lot of men are finding out initially that they're pretty soft, spiritually and physically.
Well, and intellectually too.
Yeah.
You know, we know this, that most guys after they graduate high school will never read a book again. And so now they're being challenged intellectually, they're being challenged to open up their Bible, and they're being challenged physically. I mean, a lot of guys just let themselves go, you know, and don't do anything, and they're not the leader for their wives or their kids. They can't get on the floor. They can't, even if they wanted to be a good dad and hang out with their kids and wrestle with them, they can't even do it. And so this is something that's just bringing the best out of guys, and we don't just have athletes either. You know, we have this whole swath, but guys are trying and are getting there, and it's been awesome.
That's why nobody ever expects to get to that point in their life, you know, where, you know, when you're in high school, you're like, boy, 30 years from now, I just long to be overweight and out of shape and not read any books or anything like that. It's kind of a gradual process, you know, that because people aren't intentional, you know, and stuff, and that's one of the things that I personally appreciate, you know, about Fight Club is just the intentionality of it, that you have to. You know, it just doesn't happen. Stuff just doesn't happen, and so you don't get out of shape just overnight. You know, and so it was a path you kind of put yourself on through life, through decisions that you made and everything, and that's kind of what this does. It takes you in the opposite direction, and it kind of helps you get on a path that helps you to become, you know, just a better man and more intentional.
What a crafty and subtle scheme that is of the enemy of our soul. To cause us to think, you know, at our younger ages, oh, I've been there, done that, I've arrived, now I can relax. And then, boom, 20 years goes by, and it's more than relaxing. I mean, you're just literally totally out of shape, physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually.
Yeah, we'll go back to something Rich was saying there. You know, that Fight Club does, one of the key components is the whole strike system, where it counts, you know, for something if I mess up. You know, and that's one of the things that we've all talked about this so many times in accountability in Christianity. It's kind of like, oh, that's okay. You know, try again.
Compatibility. as opposed
It's
to
not. Yeah, it's not
accountability.
accountability. We just let ourselves get away with all kinds of stuff. I don't necessarily think that God's letting us get away with. And so one of the cool things about Fight Club is it really does put some concrete terms on it that you'll get a strike and you'll strike out in front of everybody. There's no shame in that. We don't shame people, and there's lots of grace. I mean, we give strikes back sometimes, but yeah, I don't want to be that guy that strikes out. I mean, and there's sometimes where that's sort of driving me to do good things, and that's okay, I think. And if it's just my heart, then I'm a legalist. If I'm only doing it for strikes, and my heart doesn't want to grow closer to God, and that's not what we're creating. I don't think we've seen that at all. I don't think we've seen it at all. But if my heart really does want to please my Lord, this is a great way to do it. Is throw some real peer pressure and strikes and that kind of stuff. And I don't know why it motivates me, but God wired us that way, and silly things like strikes motivate me. I don't want to strike out, so it's kind of cool.
And I love the structure. You have someone that's leading, and then you have squadron leaders, and the squadron leaders are leading their squads.
Right.
And so you're breaking it down. You're developing leaders, and then you're letting them lead, and all of a sudden, and then the squadrons leaders have squads, and then the squads, each one of the members there has an accountability partner. And so that accountability is one-on-one, or maybe there's 2 or 3 in a group, but it's requiring face-to-face, and then he's accountable to this person, to that person. And so all along the way, people are developing into leaders who are following hard after God. It's our church has basically exploded with leadership training, and it's been done in an organic way. And I've been surprised and blessed by what God's doing through it. And all of a sudden, men come and they want to serve. Now they have a place to serve, and not only are they serving, but they're serving each other, but it's impacting their families. They're going back and leading their families. And our mantra, if you get the man, you get the family, you get the family, you get the community, you get the community, you get the world. We are seeing that happen right in front of our eyes, and it's resurrecting this community. It really is. And we're seeing not only the effects on local church, but we're hearing the whispers of the residue around us, how it's impacting. We can't walk into a restaurant or into a bookstore or into Lowe's or department store and someone sees a shirt or, oh, you're one of those guys. People are noticing the difference in men too. It creates accountability too outside of these
People
circles.
are watching. Yeah, talk about total mobilization of your church body to the community. Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I was thinking, the problem is maybe not so much that churches don't have men who will lead, it is that churches don't have places for men to lead. And what Fight Club has done for us, more than what we expected, was it created so many chances for men to lead. And so it just mobilized men. Men are ready. They've got the key in the ignition. All you have to do is call, and we're ready to lead, and we're ready to step up. And
What would you guys say in how's it impacted you? Why is it good for you? What has this done for you, and why are you glad to be part of Fight Club? Because literally, this is our second journey through. We're in our second chapter, and why has it been good for you?
For me, one of the things that we've already said here is it's put me back in touch with the routine of basic disciplines that laid the foundation for my faith early on, and it's brought new energy back to that, and excitement and enjoyment to it, whether it's memorizing the verses or doing physical fitness activities, reading scripture, things that have all were part of my formative years. But yeah, you get to that point where now you got your degrees and you're in ministry, you're in full-time ministry, and it's busy and it's fruitful, but it can suck the life out of some of those basic disciplines, and you get out of the habit of doing some things. And like Rich said, man, 20 years goes by and boom, you're out of shape. You're not where you want to be, and really reconnected me with those basic roots of discipleship disciplines that I enjoyed so much then, and I'm finding new enjoyment.
And Rhonda, you went out and ran like 2 miles last night.
I did. I doubled it up last night. And it still sucked.
Continuous.
Running.
But seriously, would you have done that?
Never. Never would I have done that.
Yeah.
But I do it because the guys are doing it. They're struggling. I mean, when I see Randy out there,
Right.
really pushing himself like that, I have to kick myself in the pants and say, "Come on, Rondo, man, get it going."
Right. I think that's something you touched on there that's been good for me is helping my own spiritual life, my own spiritual disciplines, but also I'm doing this for the other guys too. I'm doing this to help influence them and lead them. And Fight Club, I told this to someone else who I was trying to get to join this chapter, is if you want to be a leader, if you want to influence people and have an impact, this is a natural place for it to happen. You can do it. And you can pour into other guys what God's poured into you, and not just keep it to yourself. So for me, it's given me an opportunity to do that as well, which I've really enjoyed.
For me, it's really helped me just in my time. The biggest thing for me, the biggest difference that I've seen is just my time in the Bible. And like I was always a person that I would, I'd have my quiet time, but I would have my quiet time whenever I was able to fit it in, and so I never really had a specific time every day whenever I would spend time with God. I would do that, but it would just be kind of here, there, wherever. And I remember the last chapter that we were in, the first chapter of it. We have to read a proverb every day, and there were 2 times where I didn't read a proverb. So the next thing I know, I have 2 strikes, and I'm like, wow, okay, I'm being really inconsistent with these proverbs. I need to figure out a time when I'm just going to do it every day, so I know it just becomes habitual. And so I started saying first thing in the morning, so I was going to get up before everybody else in my home gets up, and just spend my quiet time in the morning. And so ever since that time last year when I decided to do that, that's been what I
That's
do
awesome,
now.
man.
And
It
so
really is.
I'm up 5:15, 5:30, spend my quiet time. I have a little spot in my living room where I pray, read the Bible, do a Bible study, or whatever it is. And then, but it's really cool too, because my kids notice that, because my son Ezra will get up pretty early too, and so he'll come into the hallway, into the living room, and he'll see me, and I'll just there will be times where he'll just sit there and he'll just watch, and so he's seeing me praying, he's seeing me read the Bible, and so that's been for me the biggest thing. And then Bible memorization, that was something that I did as a teenager, would memorize Bible verses all the time, and then kind of got away from that habit, but now just filling my mind with the Bible, memorizing the verses, those have been the 2 coolest things for me personally.
Yeah, I think it's the intentionality of it. I mean, for the last chapter, for the first time in, maybe my entire Christian walk, I had like a regular time with God. I was going through Scripture in a regular pattern, and that just unlocked so much for me. But the cool thing this time has been the intentionality. Real-time example. It's been a hot week, and I love being outdoors in the hot weather, so we were kind of out all week doing yard work and stuff like that. But we had an assignment this week to do something fun with our family. And yesterday it was cold. It rained the other night. It got cold yesterday, and I hate cold. I would not have been outside last night. But because that seed was planted in my mind, we went out, we had a bonfire, we had my son's first s'more, we just sat around and laughed and had an incredible time as a family. I'm embarrassed to say, we would not have had that if it was an assignment. They don't know it was an assignment. Like, my kids will never look back at that and go,
Right.
Dad did that because he was supposed to.
Right.
They're going to look back and go, Dad did it because he wanted to spend time with us and because he loved us.
I don't think it's maybe the most important reason we all do Fight Club, but I think it's kind of a common denominator for all of us in Fight Club, and that is our wives do think it's hot that we're Fight Club men. I mean, can we just, that we are guys who are working out, studying Scripture, experiencing brotherhood, pushing ourselves to be the best, and we're not going to deny the benefits of that.
No.
It's awesome.
I would say for me, I love what it's doing for men. It's something I've always dreamt about, that God would grab the heart of men and that they would lead their families in a tender way. And I can't deny that in any way that God's not doing that. And so I lose sleep over families here, and I pray regularly for that men would come alive. And so for me to experience hundreds of men that are being impacted daily, it's lit a fire in my heart, and it's what I've always dreamt would take place here at Grace. And I'm grateful for Fight Club. And I would say this, if you want to see your men come alive and you want to see them go be on mission and really making a difference in the world, and doggone it, I challenge you to institute Fight Club, give it a shot. I'm convinced it'll change your life, it'll change the men's lives in your church, and it'll change your community.